is good? We're back. We're live again. Chev, you tired yet? You good?
No, bro. If I was any better, I'd be twins. Because any day on this side of the dirt's a good one.
That's right. That's right. Doug, man, how you doing?
I'm good. What's going on, fellas?
Not
Don't
too
have
much.
a cool tagline like that, but we'll roll with it.
Well, we're we moved our mock draft Monday to mock draft Wednesday for this week. We'll go back to Monday next week. But we got a little Superflex tight end premium dynasty mock draft for your pleasure. We got this thing kicked off here. We got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow coming in at the 104, Chase and Brock Bowers, and then here comes Malik Neighbors at the 107. I had a Discord question that I wanted to kick this thing off with that one of the guys asked. He was asking, and we have talked about this before, so we do a lot of episodes. I'm sure that everybody doesn't listen to every second of what we're talking about, but like basically talking about the Panthers offense. Do you see Tet in a Mike Evans role? Do you see Xavier Legette in maybe a Godwin type role? How are we feeling about Bryce? All those kind of deals. And I think we're all, at least I think me and Chev, pretty comfortable with the Panthers offense taking a good step forward. We've talked through a lot of likings of that Panthers offense and kind of where they're going, but I don't think that I hate to put anybody as a clone of anybody else of how they play, but as far as a role goes, I do think that Tet and Mike Evans' role could be somewhat similar. And now as far as Godwin and Legette, I don't know. I do like Legette, but I'm not going to throw him in any sort of specific role. For me, he should just be spamming, drags and overs and getting deep and running screens. So, Chev, what you thinking here on all that?
So this would turn into a shameless plug for first and foremost for Jalen Coker in the Chris Godwin role. That's the archetype. That's the perfect. That's the one. That was immediately what stuck out to me as like Jalen Coker would be Chris Godwin. That. But I think you could look at what Mike Evans did with Dave Canales, or you could also look at what DK Metcalf did with Dave Canales as the quarterback's coach. So those types of usage, I mean, you see that he knows what to do with big receivers. So if you were in on Tet, there's no reason to be any less bullish. If anything, you now have kind of, and you can start to level set expectations. And if you're, you can go send out offers and figure out, hey, man, you don't like him as much. I can send you blah, blah, blah. Get something done that's way cheaper than what he could break out and be. I mean, I think worst case scenario, he's Michael Pittman from his second year, like moving forward. I mean, I have pretty high expectations now because I think that offense is going to be one of the better offenses in the league this year.
Panthers offense, one of the better offenses in the league?
Yes.
Ooh, spicy. All right, Doug, how you feeling, man? How you feeling about that Mike Evans Panthers situation?
Yeah, I really
sorry,
agree
Tet
with
McMillan.
Yeah. I agree with what Chev was saying. That's where I was going to go, was with Coker. That's who I'm really excited about. You look over the last 6 games last year, and he was hitting over, I think, 85% snap share. And that's something that I really, really liked going down the stretch. Kind of looked like he was taking a little bit from Legette. And so that's something that I'm interested to see how it kind of pans out to start the season. But yeah, with Tet setting into the Mike Evans role, I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. I would like to see what they do with Sanders. I think that's another dynamic piece in that offense that we could really see blossom.
Yeah. No, I think we've been really excited about the Panthers offense as a whole. Chev, go ahead.
So, like, we like all these players, right? Like, we want to see Xavier Legette take a step forward because he's a size speed freak. Jalen Coker came out of nowhere and surprised everyone, like making the 53 as an undrafted free agent. You've got Adam Thielen. You got Chuba. Like, we all like Chuba. We like the offensive line. We like what we saw from Bryce. He was like 21 points a game. Like, what is there that makes them like, why aren't more people talking about this? Like, do people legitimately think that they fucking stink still?
I think so. And I don't know if it's going to affect like a giant win total increase. Like, I mean,
No,
I think
they're just better.
right. I agree. And I think because people maybe have gotten a little snake bitten from, year 1 to year 2 with Canales, right?
Yeah.
That maybe people are a little slow to this one, but I like a lot of the parts and pieces, man. And I like where this offense can go. And a lot of the parts and pieces are still pretty cheap. And this is kind of what I like to buy into, right? Bryce
Exactly.
is reasonably cheap. And look, I went back and watched the last 3 games of Bryce where he was, fantasy points wise was really good. And man, he was good. Like decision making and more that stuck out to me was like in a couple of those games, he was really moving around
Yes.
really well, avoiding pressure, even running for first downs. I believe he ran for a touchdown or 2 in there. But I thought he just was comfortable. There was like where we had seen such a different Bryce there for a minute where his confidence was just in the dumpster. And by the end of the season, it looked like it was all, up, and we'll see how that goes through these first couple of games. If they take some tough losses or he struggles a little bit, if that kind of comes back. But I'm again, I watched those last couple of games of Bryce last year, and I came away being really comfortable with my position on Bryce and where I would have to take him in a startup. I know like Big Co is not a huge Bryce guy where you have to take him in a startup, but I think the value is really, really, really solid right now on Bryce. So let me hop into this mock real quick, and then we can jump back into that. And just for the tomorrow's podcast listeners, we ended with Brock Bowers at 1.6 and Malik Neighbors at 1.7. We had Justin Jefferson 1.8. We had Bijan Robinson at 1.9. We had Jalen Hurts at 1.10. Mahomes 1.11. CD, and then Puka kicking off 2.01. Gibbs, St. Brown, Genty at 2.04. So Chance DeLeon, he's got 2 RBs right off the rip here. We'll see. He goes JSN with his 3rd pick. Brian Thomas, who little injury concern today, possibly, maybe. Didn't see any more updates on that, but was down on the field and left. And then we had Drake London, Trey McBride coming in at 2.07. So we got back-to-back tight ends there, corner in the high-end market. We'll see how that plays out. We got Justin Herbert. We got Nico Collins at 2.9, Lad McConkey 2.10, Saquon at 2.11, Marvin Harrison at 2.12. Today's draft is brought to you by FFPC. We got a sponsor on the pod. These guys are great. If you're not playing Dynasty over there and you're still joining Twitter leagues that fold up after 3 seasons, and you got to be in win now mode the whole time, like you can stop that nonsense. When you want to be serious about playing Dynasty, you can go over to FFPC. They got leagues from anywhere from $100 to thousands of dollars. And their whole thing is that leagues never, ever, ever fold. They've never had a league fold, right? So when you want to be able, and now it is a little bit different stylistically. It's not this big, deep team. You only keep 16 guys. So there is a little bit of a learning curve when you do go over there of how you play. And Doug, I think it's a little bit more towards your style, or at least it's, at least that's the way I kind of like it. A little bit more stars and scrubs approach over there, because you're not like Ross. You can't hold on to 3-year developmental guys. It's hard to, but it's a great place to play. It's a great website, and those guys have been around for a while. They stood the test of time, and the no folding in a dynasty league should tell you everything you need to know about their services. So make sure you go check that out. If you do, use promo code FFD, and they'll hook you up. Tell them that we sent you. All right, boys, let's pick this thing back up. We're in the 3rd. We got Caleb Williams, 3rd round reversal, 3.01. Drake May, 3.02. Bo Nix, 3.03. Nice little 3 run there. Then we got JSN, CJ Stroud, Omarion Hampton, Rashee Rice at 3.7. Achane at 3.8. Garrett Wilson, 3.9. Bucky Irving, 3.10. Jordan Love, 3.11. And then Tetaroa McMillan coming in at 3.12. We had a couple questions here. I don't know if you want to dive into them at all, or if you guys have any takes on what's going on. Any thoughts, opinions real quick, Doug?
I think from the question perspective, the Kamani Vidal is a funny one. Is Kamani Vidal any closer to seeing some touches? Asking for a friend. I bet you are. I don't think so. I think we know that Harbaugh went out and recruited Najee Harris really heavily, right? And we also know that obviously they took Hampton in the 2nd this year, the 1st. So I think when you're looking at it, Vidal is definitely down on the depth chart, and he's somebody that I'm really trying to actively move to one of those two owners, if it's not the same owner.
Shout out to the callback to the Matt Kelly episode that we did. Some Kamini Vidal action there.
I wasn't going to go there, but
we got a 10-team Superflex hard rebuild, traded Jeudy plus Penix for Caleb plus a 27 first. Walker then traded Walker for a 26 first plus Fanning. Was going to hold Walker, hoping value increased, but figured insulating a first was smart. So 10-teamer, he gave up Jeudy and Penix for Caleb in a first. Is that how I'm reading that?
Yeah.
Probably would have kept Jeudy and Penix there, but you've got some first now, so you're trying to rebuild. So I get it. You know, you're the insurance and insulation, as you're saying, from the first is very comforting. They can't get hurt. They can only go up in value. So, you know, it's sometimes when you're doing, like, I'm okay with holding a guy like Jeudy in a rebuild, even though he's a running back, just because the value I feel like is pretty much going to be there for the next year and a half, 2 years. If I want to basically cash that bond out. So
I think it all comes down to your opinion on Penix versus Caleb, right? Because if he feels like he got an upgrade going from Penix to Caleb 2-1s and Fannin essentially for Penix and Jeudy, you know, if you're that maybe down on Penix, then so, but this is not.
I mean, you got, you know, Penix to Caleb is a 1 to 2 round boost up. And so, you know, it's early rounds, and then the 27 first, I'd like that a lot better if it was a 26 first or something. Even if, I don't know, don't know if you drafted yet or not, if there's 25 firsts available. Just the 2-year out first stinks for me for the rebuilder. You know, it's a hard rebuild, but like, I'd rather have some, you know, you can obviously do a lot with that, but you know, I'm always be angling for, you know, unless it's like I had a guy like Kyron Williams in a orphan I took over, and like couldn't get a first for him in that previous year. So I went and found the best team that could use him, that had the oldest roster, and moved that pick a year out. Right. So like, that guy's not thinking about, you know, now it's, you know, in 26 or 25 or 2 years down the line, he's like, oh, I'm going to be good. But it's like, oh, you got like 3 or 4 old dudes. Now, anything could happen. He could still be good. Those guys could bounce back. He could trade those guys and do well. But that's kind of the way I like to play that. If I can't move somebody and you know, I want to get a later pick. So 2 first totals, he says. All right, boys, let's hop back in this thing. We had AJ Brown 4-1. We have T. Higgins at 4-2. Breece Hall 4-3. Travis Hunter, Kyler Murray 4-5. Jonathan Taylor 4-8. Judkins JT 4-6. Judkins 4-7. Travion Henderson 4-8. Ward 4-9. Jacobs 4-10. Roma Dunze 4-11. How are we feeling about some of these builds in here so far, fellas? We have a couple of 2 quarterbacks out there, but half the league has 1, and then you got the 2 tight end build and the 2 running back build. What you thinking, Chev? About any of these picks or any of these builds?
That 2 tight end build, that's a nasty build. I mean, you've solidified a positional advantage in another essentially wide receiver, like back end wide receiver 1. You got Rashee Rice, who I'm bullish on. You got JT, who I also like. So this guy, I could see myself doing something like this in a startup if given the option, but Trey McBride never makes it that far for me personally. And then you got a lot of people did, Henry.
Yeah,
a lot of people did, man. Like, they don't feel bad about that at all. I mean, it just sucks that it worked out the way it worked out.
That was a comment that said Vidal. He took Vidal over Bucky in multiple rookie drafts. I mean, it happens. Yeah, I'm sure I did somewhere as well. I do have a decent amount of Bucky. Sometimes you get lucky. All right, did you have more to add to that, Chev?
No, man. I like that build, and then I'm always big fan of the 3rd round reversal. So getting Caleb Williams and Bo Nix in the 3rd feels like tremendous value there.
Yeah. Travis, thanks for the shout out. Awesome. Love the show. Great content. Only thing that could be better is if you drop that E in Myers there. Meyers. questionable.
Jeez.
Appreciate the love. Obviously, I don't know if you know that my last name is Myers. I'm YERS. So there's the full government for you. We got Todd coming in here. He said, what do you think the best league format is in a 1-4 quarterback Superflex, no tight end premium, both 10 teamers looking for a new one to add this year? I like what we're drafting right here is my favorite format. I like Superflex, tight end premium 1.5. I'll go to 2. 2's fine. I like 2. 2's fun. But I like to play with 12. I like tight end premium. Just gives you, one more position that gets a little bit more love and a little bit more value. So this is my favorite, and it probably mostly just because I'm so used to it. And it's very standardized for me at this point. So that's kind of my favorite. Doug, you got a favorite?
Yeah, it's about chalk on this. I don't mind 14 teams either. Kind of spreads it out a little bit, and especially in a tight end premium, makes it a little fun. But yeah, 12's good. 12 and tight end premium Superflex. 2 quarterbacks puts a little more emphasis on quarterback. But at the same time, I think you're good with the Superflex.
Superflex, 2 quarterback. I need there to be some sort of 2 quarterback, and I prefer 12 teams. Obviously, I don't like going past 12 teams because I'm accustomed to doing the math on who should go where for 12 teams now.
Right.
That I don't like. I'm like adding 2 more teams. I can't math. My brain does not compute. So,
yeah. Yeah, and a good way if you want to draft more teams is always best ball, right?
Yeah.
That's it. If you want to draft more teams and not have, if you're a newer dynasty player, don't jump into a million startups. Do 1 or 2, hang out, learn how values and all that stuff works, and then maybe do some best balls if you want to draft a little more, even if it's dynasty best ball, so you don't have to set the lineup. All right, hop back in this bad boy. We let off at Cam Ward and Josh Jacobs. We had Roma Dunze, then we had Tyler Warren. Then he double tapped on the tight ends here. So we've got 2 guys with 2 sets of tight ends and no other tight ends on the board. Let's see here. The 112 team, he took Warren and Laporta. Then we came with Purdy at 5.2, Brown at 5.3, McCarthy at 5.4, Baker Mayfield at 5.5, RJ Harvey 5.6, T-Law 5.7, Devonta Smith, Kyron Williams, and James Cook at 5.10. So that last team build there, he went with CD and Puka, then he went Caleb and 2 tight ends. We're gonna have to make some ground up on running back here. So he's gonna have to figure out how to fill in his running backs in the 6th round. There may be a few rookies left. I mean, Kenny Walker's still on the board. Caleb Johnson's still on the board. I don't know if either of those guys will be there when you get back. But we're getting pretty close to the cutoff. And then Chuba being the last running back that I'm excited about, typically going in the 7th round. Now, there's certainly some other guys you can dig out of there, but also not an old team. So doesn't have to worry about the future a terrible amount right this minute of how to construct and win. Like if I've productively struggled my way, and I typically don't draft a lot of running backs then, right? Maybe it's 1 anchor or maybe it's none, right? So how you guys feel about that particular build there? Like here, the 1-1 right now on the other side, he kind of had a similar thing, and then he just double tapped running backs, Kenny Walker and CMC.
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that who's picking at the 112, how he did double tap the tight ends, and there are running backs, to your point, Case. I think there are a lot of running backs that are still kind of in this 6, 7, 8 range that if you don't mind going a little older, you're still going to get extreme value and great points for this season, probably next season, potentially in 2027, right? And that's kind of in the startup season that I've been doing this year. That's kind of get the theme of my teams like that. I've been seeing how I've been just kind of cultivating quarterbacks, running backs, and then tight ends. But the running back piece has really been a little movie when I'm looking at it and I'm seeing that value. I still see that the youth that I've gotten at those other positions, the running back, I can still compete for 2 to 3 years. And then I find myself later in those drafts taking some of those younger rookie running backs that I see potential in 2026 and beyond. So that's kind of where I've been. But I really like the 112 build.
What you thinking, Chev?
I really like this build because it gives you can dip into that old man. So I really enjoy this build because you're very strong, and one of those tight ends turns into a premium asset that you could turn into multiple assets and build out that way, especially in a tight end premium. You've got 2 cornerstone wide receivers. You got Caleb Williams. I'm thinking that he's probably going to taking another quarterback here. You can push the running backs down a little bit further. You can get Travis. If you're going to go basically, 0 RB, late RB, you're going Travis Etienne in the 10th. You're going Jordan Mason in round 13. You're going Aaron Jones in round 12. Like you start taking shots on guys like Isaac Guerrero a little bit later, but you can scatter shot. And then if one of those guys hits and gives you 14 or 15 points a week, you just know that that's probably where you're going to be trying to address that need. And it's an easy place to address because you can trade for it. You can't trade for tight ends in a tight end premium. You can't really trade for cornerstone wide receivers either. So
yeah, it's certainly hard to
production can be had.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to trade for high end tight end production in tight end premium. And I'm okay with going a little heavier on the tight ends and tight end premium because I'll flex a tight end and tight end premium.
Totally.
There's been plenty of years where the tight end, a couple of years ago when Cole Kmet had the good season, like he was scoring more points than George Pickens, on average. Like he would have been whatever George Pickens was. He was a few slots higher than he was as far as wide receivers went. Right. I don't remember those numbers exactly, but we've seen that through, and we've done that a million times on show basis on it of like, hey, make sure you're looking at when you're doing these trades, if you're trying to find something late to plug in, maybe going into the playoffs, a tight end might be a little cheaper as far as getting the same sort of what's the word I'm looking for, production, there you go, as some of these wide receivers. So you can get somebody like a Jake Ferguson for a minute there was somebody that you could easily flex as a second one in premium and get you 10-12 points when kind of he was rolling and he was super cheap. So as a Lamb and Pickens and Dak owner, should I look to shop Pickens or roll with all three? Such a high passing volume offense. Big Smooth, shout out to you. That's a patron right there. Appreciate you. Long-time rider of the show. What's good, man? What you think there, Big D? Or sorry, Doug? Just all Big D in the comments.
That's okay. Yeah, Big D, what's up? Fresh crack. Happy birthday, big man. I kind of just want to roll with that. I just want to see where it goes, to be honest. I want to see what Dak, Lamb, and Pickens can all do together. I think that's going to be really fun and really exciting. So, you're not going to lose any value on Pickens. You're not going to lose any value on Lamb. Dak, we'll see, but I have no reservations on Dak, so I have no issues rolling the three of those. I mean, you're going to get potential 2 stacks, and you could roll out of there with 70 points in a week.
Yeah,
that sounds fun. I mean, that's like having Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, right? Like, maybe not to that degree, but
potentially though.
But that's fun. So,
yeah, I mean, you got Jamar Chase winning the Triple Crown, and then T. Higgins being 18 points a game, like that. They have this type of ceiling.
Yeah,
like it's not outlandish at all.
Yep.
So, but I mean, this is a good time. This is a good time to sell George Pickens based on where we've been in the roller coaster of his value. This is a really good time to do it. Like, I got a first and a third. I got a first and a second. Like, the first is a 27 first, but like a second and a first. You got multiple picks for George Pickens. Like, that was not possible when he was a Pittsburgh Steeler. Like, at any point post 2024 season. So if you want to get out, sure, this is a good window to get out. But also, I recognize that I could very easily be on the losing side of this trade, after this season.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think you have to do anything. But if you wanted to move Pickens, like you guys said, off of gaining a little bit of value and some steam, I could be down with it. Would you rather have DK or Pickens?
I would rather have Pickens.
Yeah, I think so as well.
For that team as well, you're okay. For the team that we're talking about.
I mean, they're going to throw the ball 600 times. And
Yeah.
the Packers are, whoever Aaron Rodgers plays for is going to be last in pace of play.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Last in pace of play.
Yeah. All right. We got a question here. Would you trade up in a startup to 305 and 403 for 5'7", 606, a 26 first, and a 27 second?
Look at what that would be on this mock.
Yeah, so good.
Amarian and Brees Hall for T-Law, so we'll say Devontae. Yeah, I mean, to me, I like to move up. I want to be in those first 3 or 4 rounds as many times as I can in startup drafts. I've just seen it so many times this offseason where you see the premier players fall a little bit, and we're going to point one out here in a little bit. At least I'm going to point it out if nobody else wants to. But you see some of these premier players that you really, really like to have on your team and kind of build around, and they're falling because some of these rookies are getting inflation, right? Or somebody like Rashee Rice. I mean, we haven't talked about that yet, but Rashee Rice at 3.7, where was he at 2-3 months ago when we were doing these startups? He was like in the 5th, 4th, right?
4th, probably, yeah.
I mean, now we're talking middle of the 3rd. I mean, that's a top 30 player. So, and I think the value is right. Trust me, I love Rashee Rice, but that's what I'm saying is these people are gaining helium for various reasons, and you're starting to see some of these other players slip. So that 3, 4, 5 round is definitely where I like to be. So if you can trade up and it's a 26 first, if you think you're going to be a competitor and that 26 first is going to be late, I don't have any problems with that. You get to move up 2 rounds twice.
Yeah, and the 27 second part of it makes it more palatable for me. I'm like, all right, well, that's 2 years away. I can kind of figure that out a little bit.
Yeah.
It could really mess you up a little bit to start things off, but I mean, you're moving up. You're moving up. Let's see,
2 rounds twice.
Yeah,
you're going from 5 to 3, and then 6 to 4.
Yeah,
it's pretty heavy.
I like it. And yeah, the 6th and 7th, I still like some players, but I definitely, like you said, Doug, I like those 3 and 4 players quite a bit more, right? So I don't hate it. Big D, happy birthday! Shout out to you. All right, you said there was somebody slipping. Who'd you see some slippage from right here as a premium player?
I mean, it's got to be like my favorite player of the offseason. I don't care what Chev says. I've been on him for 2 years. That is the number 6'4". That is Michael Penix. What is happening? 6'4"? 6'4". Dude, I haven't seen him go past the 4th in any round any draft I've been in for the last 2 to 3 months. So
wild.
That is wild. So
that's a late one.
That is great value for killer PF sitting in the 4th slot.
He's been steady 4th round for us here for a little while. So that's definitely a big fall, but that's also a testament to who's in the room, who gets bumped down. I don't think that's a hard place for that we're going to see Penix falling to there for any reason. I think this is just the particular draft where he fell down a little bit. Jameson Williams a little higher than I've seen. He's been kind of a 7th rounder, mid to late 7, so he's up there a little higher. Our guy at the 112 spot, we've been kind of talking about his draft so far, and we can jump into some other people's builds here. But he came in and he got Chuba and Goff on the double tap there. So I like that. I like that start. Regardless if he took Chuba first and he was your 7th or Goff is your semantics at that point. But you got yourself Jared Goff. I mean, I maybe would have gone Dak Prescott there, but I mean, I don't mind going Goff at all. I could have honestly gone Bryce Young because I really like him. I'm really starting to heat up there, but golly, the value of the quarterbacks in the 7th round of being able to get Goff, Dak, and Bryce Young still in the 7th round is, and then, like, here's Jackson Dart in the 8th. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? Not that I am a huge Jackson Dart hater by any means, but golly, I'll take all 3 of those guys, by quite a bit right now.
Yeah, there's a big tier break between even Justin Fields and what Jackson Dart's going to represent from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, quarterbacks slipped here. Like Brock Purdy, typically.
All of them, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Them being pressed down around changes the math on all this. But I like it, though. Like you need to have reps like this.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally agree. I think this is actually a great exercise, right? What your point is, Chev, is seeing how different drafts play out, because not every draft is going to be chalk, right? And players have different values and everything like that. And I think, we talked about the 112 one more time before we're done with him, because he's got a great team. But that Chuba Hubbard pick case, I mean, that was, kind of what you were talking about as far as the end of a tier break. And if you look at the running backs going after that, I totally believe in that. So looks like you got great into the tier break on the running back, and then top of that last tier for quarterback.
Yeah, I like it. It seems, I don't know, it definitely seems like there's some, reads maybe a little higher than I've seen him here. Let's talk about this 1-2 team just from a box colorization standpoint. His stood out to me of like, this could be a potential like productive struggle build, except you did kind of grab Saquon Barkley there. So I don't know that that's necessarily the way I'm going. That you can obviously trade out of there, but that's kind of what I was talking about. Like just a ton of receivers. So he went Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Jordan Love, got him at 311. I think that's pretty solid value there for Jordan Love. It might be kind of around his ADP, but I do like taking Jordan Love there. Then he got T. Higgins, Xavier Worthy, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, and he's taking Mike Evans here. So, he does have some older guys. If I was going a little more productive struggle, I would have kept it on more youth and pushed that up, and maybe been, a little early on drafting some of those guys if I wanted to go that route. So, I think that some people would argue that they don't love the group of receivers that he took, but I like the idea of kind of how the boxes are laid out there of the anchor running back, 2 quarterbacks, which maybe I could have taken, if you would have told me at 6'2", I could get Michael Penix, maybe I don't take Jordan Love there. And I take another running back, or I take a different wide receiver there. Right. So, any general thoughts on that, Chev?
It's a great best ball team.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal best ball team. Like you're gonna have some weeks that'll just blow women's clothes off. But I have a hard time clicking the button right now on DJ Moore, and I have a really hard time clicking the button on Mike Evans, just because you're making a 1-year bet. And I mean, that's just not the direction that I would guess that this team, that you want to go with a team like this, because you still have a ton of flexibility. Like Zay Flowers has a chance to take a step forward. We're all thinking that Xavier Worthy is going to take a step forward based on, his rise in ADP, and T. Higgins is, T. Higgins. Like if he's out there, he's going to be good. Yeah. So, those last 2 selections, like, man, maybe I go a little bit younger. Maybe I reach a little bit more on DK. Maybe I like DK Metcalf more than I like DJ Moore this year, or Ricky Pearsall. If you're talking from a build perspective, and like young wide receivers that could boom, I just don't see, how those last 2 picks mesh with the thought process of the previous 4 or 5 picks.
I'm with you. That's kind of where what I was driving at as well. I might have done some different things as far as just like age bracket selection there. Like, I don't really mind DJ Moore. That it's a proposition that could end up really awesome if he kind of fits into a really solid role in that offense, or he does seem like right now there's been more, I don't want to say a whole lot of negativity, but there's definitely been a little bit more of, he's probably got the darkest cloud over him in that offense right now. I would say. Just from the outside looking in, but
without a doubt, I mean, there's nothing that you could point to that was positive in terms of what those things that we're all talking about. Like, there's nothing you could glean that's positive from seeing his body language and stuff. That's the hard part. And then you hear, like, you see what they brought in, and you hear Ben Johnson's comments, and so it's just kind of We just have to wait for football to start happening to feel good about DJ Moore again, because nothing about last year makes you feel like, oh, this is somebody I could really like hitch my wagon to, like a wide receiver 2 perspective.
Yeah. I'm very shocked that DK Metcalf went 8-6.
Yeah, me too.
So that's what, like, I immediately scroll and I'm like, okay, well, DK Metcalf goes around, like, he's younger. and you've got to adjust your expectations based on the Aaron Rodgers thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about it last night, Chev, on the live news and notes show. That DK Metcalf. I mean, we looked at Wilson weeks 1 through 6, 29% target share without Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams comes in 28% target share, and Wilson gets a 22.8% target share. Like, I can't really see a world where DK Metcalf doesn't have a high 20s, if not low 30s target share this year. And whatever you think about DK Metcalf, fake alpha, however you want to describe him, like, it's still going to result, I think, in some really good fantasy production. Whether you like it or not. Now, how long does that last? I don't know. I look at, you got Jordan Addison at 7.4. Like, I think DK needs to at least be up in that area for me.
Yep.
No?
Totally.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Totally. I'm taking him above him. I'm taking him above Olave. Taking him above DJ Moore. I'm probably taking him above Jeudy. Yeah.
Big booty Jeudy?
I mean, but to the point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there is no target competition in Pittsburgh, and I know that Arthur Smith loves to run the ball and yada yada, but Aaron Rodgers is still on the field, and he might be slow, right? You love that point, Chev. He plays very, very slow, but guess what? He also likes to chuck it, and that's a true alpha now. I mean, he has no Tyler Lockett, no JSN to compete with. He's got Calvin Austin.
I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I struggle with that because we could very well be looking back at this and him coming off of one of his best seasons since his second year or whatever, and being like, man, why didn't we see that coming? But also, I don't know. It should work. I just have so little faith in Arthur Smith. I'm probably going to get there. But to y'all's point, yes, I would have taken him over DJ Moore at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like it. I really like where DK Metcalf's heading. I mean, look, like I said, again, I don't want to be saying the same thing I said last night, but I'm sure some people are tuned in that haven't been tuned in or listen to the podcast or whatever. But like, you couldn't get a first for DK Metcalf, or at least I couldn't in a lot of leagues, heading in the back half of last year, middle of last year, or whatever. I tried to trade him, and just because I have a team that is pretty good and I could have used the first for this year, would have been great to do some other things with. My receiving core is really good. Would you take that first now if you're, let's say you're a pretty medium competitive team that could really take a jump with somebody scoring points of somebody who could get 28 points or 28% target share? I mean, rebuilder, of course, you're taking the so we could remove that from the equation. But Doug, what do you think? Say you're a playoff team, but you're not like the top dog.
Would I take a first?
Mm-hmm.
That is tough. No, I'm gonna hold for a season, because I also know that Rodgers is on a 1-year deal. He's 41 years old now. So I can't see anything but that situation getting better after this year. I still think he's going to have a good season. And I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, boy, Will Howard's going to take over in 2026. Right. I think I'm holding. If I'm any kind of a contender, if there's any way that I think I can win in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm going to keep Metcalf.
Yeah.
We'll reevaluate after 26, but
Chev, I know we talked about this a little bit last night, but in that scenario, what are you doing with DK?
I mean, I would have to, if I'm dependent, say, like, I just need somebody to go from being, a 12-point a game guy to 17, 18 points a game. That's what I think that's in the range. That's in a comfortable range of outcomes that I'm comfortable with DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers if they're together for 17 games. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably 18 to 20 is where he could top out at. He's going to catch a lot of touchdowns, and he's going to have, they're going to do back shoulder magic stuff. It's it's probably going to be really good.
So you kind of whistled when he went to taking him over Jeudy. Judy's kind of been in a little bit of a similar situation now. The value has gone up. Judy's back up in here. Jeudy was dead for a lot of people last year. Now he came in. He got a little Jameis bump. But now we just have a question mark at QB. And I know Flacco's had a decent run there with Cleveland a year or 2 years ago. But I'm uncomfortable with Jeudy right now. Where in seventh round Jeudy, like I get it. Like I always liked Jerry Jeudy. But since we've got a value bounce back, is he on the sell list for you here or
me? 1,000%. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm making all the Cedric Tillman bets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm making all. Let's just take. You can have one receiver for this price, or hear me out. You can wait like 6 rounds and then draft the other receiver that's much cheaper and potentially just as good.
Yep.
So yeah, Jerry Jeudy would be a sell for me right now, 1,000%. Because are we sure? Do you believe? You have to convince yourself. Do I believe that Jerry Jeudy can do what he did again with Joe Flacco, or if they transition to Dylan Gabriel or Kenny Pickett or Shedeur Sanders, do we maintain that level of play?
Right. Well, that's the problem. Is that you just listed 4 ors.
Exactly.
With who's throwing the ball there, and I think the parts and pieces of the offense are kind of fun. I'm just very concerned with, that there are
who's throwing the forward pass.
Who's throwing the ball, and it's also not like an Olave or a DK or a neighbor situation like last year. I do think there's Joku and there's Tillman out there. I mean, they have Deontay Johnson on. He might not be on the team by the time that rolls around, but they have more than one option. I guess what I'm driving at, to have just like forced target share to whoever the quarterback is to their best receiver. I think Jeudy is probably technically their quote unquote best receiver, but Cedric Tillman playing that X. I saw some Matt Harmon propaganda today, which we didn't just kill all that.
Sir. Yes, sir.
You heard it here way first. But yeah, I'm very tentative on the Jeudy. I would probably I'd probably sell 60% of my Jeudy and keep 40.
Well, see, and this is where I'm at, is because I'm gonna call me Crocodile Dundee, because I'm gonna chuck this boomerang, right? I'm gonna ship his ass out the door while he's at the value that he's at now, and then week 8, week 9, week 10, I'm gonna buy back in, because we're gonna have more of an answer to what's happening at quarterback, and I think for 2026 his value is gonna be a lot better. So like push his ass out the door and bring him on back later. Like, I think that's the move on somebody like Jerry Jeudy right now, right?
The price tag comes with questions. He comes with questions that his price tag should answer for me, and it doesn't. It just gives me more questions. So at that point, I sell, value dips. We know Jerry Judy's going to be like 26. People are going to be like, well, is it going to ever happen again? And then he gets a good quarterback, and he gives you a 1,300-yard season, and then we sell again because he's going to be in like the 4th or 5th round, and just wash, rinse, and repeat.
And I think good point of like if he had a quarterback, I think that we felt okay about, even if it was Jameis, I think he'd be in the 5th, 4th round right now, right? People would be all over, spouting off the stats from the back half of the season where he really took off. He does feel like a little bit like Chuba, right? As far as like kind of like that last bastion of like guys who could be a number one. The thing is you do have some rookies after that I could maybe mitigate a little bit of risk with, where the pendulum isn't going to swing as hard if it doesn't go well this year, maybe as it will for the Goldens, the Burdens, the Trey Harrises of the world that are kind of going behind them. So like you do have a little bit more of an outlet than, say, like kind of looking at Jeudy as the wide receiver 1 of running backs to Chuba's RB1, like kind of your last hope there. So that I think is semi-appropriately priced, but it still doesn't make me love it.
Yeah, you can't love it. You can't love it at that point. Like like I said, you're paying a premium price. You have less questions. You have far less questions about what Chris Olave's target share is going to look like. What whether you question, those are very similar archetypes. And then there are very few questions about what George Pickens does. It's just whether or not he decides to behave like a normal human being. It's the best situation he's ever been in, and we think he's one of the best talents in the league. So, but then Jeudy, it's like, yeah, he's good, but we don't know how many quarterbacks he's going to play, and it might not matter. He might have fully broken out, and he's going to give you 1,206 at his worst, and he could go up to like 1,400 or 1,510 if he gets a really good quarterback, and they're in sync. So, long story short, sell now, and then maybe you get a buy window again, and then it gets way better as he's hitting his physical peak.
Which would you rather sell, Jeudy or DK?
I would rather sell Jeudy right now because I feel like you could get more from him. You're gonna have to let football happen. You're gonna have to let Aaron Rodgers hit him in the back of the head on a back shoulder ball a couple times before you can get people to buy back into DK all the way. I mean, people are still frying me for saying that I would take DK over Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Would you, if you could trade Jeudy for Ibuka, would you do that?
Yes. Unequivocally. Yes.
Yeah.
Jeudy went or Ibuka went 6'9" here. So,
all right. I've seen Jeudy go above him. So it's similar.
Yeah. So we left off around the 8th round here. We had Jackson Dart, Mike Evans, Golden at 803, David Montgomery 804, Scatabo 805, Metcalf 806, Ricky 807, Burden 808, and Heartbreak 809. We had Jaden Reed, Tyreek Hill 810, Trey Harris 811, and Brandon Ayuk at 812. So Pearsall and Ayuk staying kind of similarly priced. Couple picks before for Pearsall right now. Then we had the 112 team, as we've been tracking all night, and I don't mean to not talk about everybody else's team in here, but it was an interesting kind of build. And I want to jump back to the other double tight end team here, but he's got CD, Puka, Caleb, Tyler Warren, Laporta. That was the double tap. Then he went Chuba Goff. Then he went Brandon Ayuk. So he does have a guy who's potentially starting on the pup there, wide receiver wise. And now he's gone Swift, Pollard, Jones, Diggs, Dylan Sampson. So I like the bounce back on the potential running back swings. You've got some good swings. Aaron Jones could certainly mount up as your RB2, and then you could kind of play Swift and Pollard if they're hurt, or Swift or Pollard could be your RB2. Jones feels like if he plays, he should lock in as your RB2. Then you can flex some other guys, but he's old. The Dylan Sampson one in this position, maybe I do something else. Maybe I try to find another receiver there. But I don't mind starting to take backup running backs at this point. And Dylan Sampson's got, a good chance overall there. So I know Ed wants us to talk some Swift, and we'll definitely bounce back to Swift. We have this Bowers McBride team who started 2 tight ends. They went Rashee Rice, Jonathan Taylor, Trevor Lawrence, Jamison Williams, Fields. Then they're the ones that got DK. They got Pacheco, Godwin, Brian Robinson, Mooney, and Tillman. I don't hate the way you've, you're down one big time star. Usually you have one tight end that's anchored you down. You've got 2. You can play both of them, right? So however you want to look at it, of missing a running back or missing a receiver, like those guys can score similar-ish points with the tight end premium on a week-to-week. And somebody, I don't know how you guys feel about positional hoarding. Not necessarily something that I really love to do, but in this case, you've got the definite top 2. And if you really need to, you could move one or the other to go get yourself another stud. So, certainly a bold strategy, Cotton, but I don't mind it. How do you guys see that build working out, Jeff?
If you have to bust one of the tight ends down to get to another good running back, or tearing down at tight end to get like an Isaiah Likely and something like in a tier 1 or tier 2 running back to break down either Bowers or McBride. Like, you can do that and still this team probably competes if Justin Fields and DK Metcalf hit. You know, you're taking the later shots. I would be taking a bunch of shots here. Let me see where Travis Etienne went.
He went the next pick after him at 10-11, so he could have had him instead of Pollard. Or no, sorry, no, he couldn't have. Was going the other way.
No. I'm looking at the double tight end team over here.
Oh,
sorry. I was thinking that I would have taken Etienne instead of Pacheco. But just like you want to take those shots at guys who potentially could just have all the work to themselves, but nobody values them that way. But I love the shot right here with Mooney and obviously Cedric Tillman and then Ozzie Garindo. See, we're back on track here. I like it. I like that a lot. A lot of guys in this range. I mean, Jordan Mason, that's a totally different build though, but like Jordan Mason in that range. If we're going back over to 112 here, like that's a championship roster as soon as if Diggs doesn't suck, like which he hasn't sucked. He was 15 points a game last year. And then Ayuk comes back and can just be whatever he was before, in 2023 or 2022. Like just be that. And that's a championship caliber roster.
Yeah. This one I've been rolling through some of these builds while you guys have been talking, and we kind of touched on like productive struggle a little bit. Now here's I think this is a really good example of that right here, right? You got neighbors in London, they're anchored down, you're not productive struggling anything there, right? Those are your first two picks. I think they're great first two picks. Then you went 3 rookie running backs, right? You went Omarion Hampton, Judkins, R.J. Harvey. Then you took Colston Loveland, right? Then you got Bryce Young. You got Ricky Pearsall. You took Sam Darnold, but you got Milroe on the next go-round. So, you kind of have that surrounded. Debo's the misstep here for me. I don't take Debo in that situation, most likely. I'm just going to stick to my guns there. And, like, I get the idea of, like, hey, if things are hitting and you need a veteran, Debo could really fill in and be somebody who's a big-time starter for you if the rest of this lineup is really, really working out year one, but you're not necessarily banking on every single thing going your way year one with drafting this way. You're drafting this team for the long haul, and you have so much liquidity of movement here. And that's kind of how I've leaned into starting my builds, is staying pretty young, and giving what the board taking what the board gives me, and then being able to just kind of like, hey, number one, we're not playing next week, so I don't have to have my full roster. And number two, like, I'm okay with kind of sucking year one and having a good draft pick coming into the first year out of this, but knowing that, like, man, if this thing, if I could get all my when all my powers combined, I could become Captain Planet. I like that. And then then he took Blue and Williams, so now he got another backfield there, and he took Harold Fanning Jr. So, you do still have some question marks on this team, but everybody should have some value that can really elevate or at least kind of stay semi-similar. So I like what the AC Groove did there. Doug, what were you were looking?
That's exactly who I was looking at, and everything you said is exactly where I was going. I mean, I really like the Darnold Milroe stack. That's one of my favorite stacks. I mean, Chad will attest to it. We're in multiple startups together, and Darnold Milroe is like my go-to, because I basically get 2 quarterbacks, but I treat him as a third. In my startups, he's been my third. They have been my third, but I really like it. The Debo was the misstep for me as well. I think you could have probably supplemented another tight end. And now, as you can see where the rookie tight ends and the later tight ends are going, you could have snagged another tight end that would have probably filled the position of flex, right, that you were probably going to play Debo in. I think at that juncture, you're just really looking to hope Debo gets some value back, and you can push him off for a pick or an upgraded player or something along those lines. I definitely like that one. But I have to say that the Bowers McBride team has come around on the last leg of the race and has probably turned out to be my favorite team because they took about 6 players in a row that I absolutely love. Well, with the exception of Ryan Robinson. That's the only one that I probably would have done something a little different there. But I mean, it went Pacheco, Godwin, exemption Brian Robinson, Mooney, Tillman, Garendo, and Jarquez Hunter. Like, that's just nasty. That is nasty value at the end. You're going to put up some serious points, especially since you have a massive advantage at tight end.
Yeah, like on that AC Groove team with the Debo pick, like, you could have, for me, the tight end position could be something that holds you back a little bit year one if you did start to get good. So, like, you could have taken Evan Ingram in there instead of Debo. That would have been all right. Or if you wanted to take Juwan Jennings, right, somebody who could really ascend and be good and still have some value. There's Leggett, who could really ascend. Michael Pittman's right here at 12-2, right? We're unsure of the quarterback situation. I know Chev doesn't like Pittman, but like, if I'm going to take like a little bit older guy who could really help me out and be good, and the value's down and he could bounce back, like Pittman might be somebody in there. Now, look, Debo could absolutely smash, and this could all be for not.
Yeah.
But it is that's just kind of my thought process there. Chev, what do you got?
But did you see him running? Did you see him running today? Was
Debo?
Debo.
No, I didn't catch it stuff yesterday.
Yeah, it was not.
He looks fat still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the camera adds 10 pounds or something like that, but it was. Whew. Yeah. So that's the only thing that we would have changed there. I would have liked to have seen maybe a stab at, Rashad White in the last round. I can't complain with that, but just grabbing one of those, grabbing another one of those, like the young weapons, like staying young. That's the thing here. The theme with that team, with AC Groove, is just him being, him having all of these young players that if they hit, his team increases exponentially in value, and you're super young and you're probably going to cash for the next few years. Whereas and you could still sell some of these pieces off, to acquire, to tier up, to get some more win now pieces if you needed to, if you were close, productive struggle, as you call it. So yeah, Debo sticks out like a sore thumb, but otherwise this is real solid. Just probably would have taken one more quarterback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, we got this new city team here. He went Chase, Herbert, Achane, Kyler Murray, Devonta Smith, Caleb Johnson, Chris Olave. I like that. I like those first 7 picks. I like what you did there. You got a mix of guys. You got your 2 quarterbacks. Scatabo at 805. That could be great. That could be a bummer. You could have done something else, or that's I guess that's what that's okay with me, of like in your 8th round there, of doing something exciting there. I might rather
doing something exciting. Exciting white. Choosing an exciting white in the 8th round.
Yeah. But he grabs Cortland and Keon Coleman, and Cortland can really help you out here, and Keon Coleman could be an ascender. Sharbs hasn't been my favorite pick and really on my radar, but I can't knock it too hard. I like the Evan Ingram pick. I like the Spears pick. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have been a pick there, and Cade Otton probably wouldn't have been a pick for me there, but I do like the last pick in A.D. Mitchell. So I like a lot of the picks that happened on New City there. I don't mind that team at all. Some fun late round picks coming in here. We got, Marshawn Lloyd late, Brenton Strange. Like, I would have taken Brenton Strange in place of Otton for New City. Just to see what could happen there. And it's not because I don't like Otton, it's just because he got a million targets going over there. Or even a Dallas Goedert. Like, Dallas Goedert was not the worst last year, just re-signed with the Eagles. Been a pretty good player. I don't mind that. Any late round things that you guys really like right now? Love this Devin Neal.
Hey,
we already know.
I was bird dogging it real hard. I was trying not. I was like, man, I don't want to go back over here and talk about his team again, but get some more stuff that I like.
I talked about maybe not taking Dylan Sampson there with kind of how that team was constructed a little bit, but I don't mind it. You could certainly be in the productive struggle lane with this team, sort of, for the most part. And if it works out, it works out. If not, you sell Jones, you sell Pollard, you sell Swift. Well, and Ed, I promise we'll talk about Swift to end this thing. Devin Neal, Coker, and Brashard Smith to end your draft is pretty fun. Oops, sorry,
Go out and totally redeem yourself.
Yeah. It's a
Holy cow, that's awesome.
strong end of your draft. God bless America. Just pressing the wrong buttons here.
I do like the Father Blake team. I wanted to kind of hit that because I like the mix that they have. They have a lot of high-end youth, but good established veterans, and then somebody like Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, and Geno Smith, right? Like those three guys are three of the vets that if you are looking at a team, that team's still probably going to contend for 2 to 3 years, right? So as old as it is, and as the crazy moniker that people are like, oh yeah, I play Dynasty in 3 year bursts. It's like, get out of here. But that would lend credence to that argument because that is a team that is going to be around for a very long time, but also has 3 veterans that will put them over the top, and they will be a consistent contender. I will tell you that. And the late round picks of Marshawn Lloyd, J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Noel, and Mason Taylor are just fantastic. Like I love those last 4 picks. So
yeah. I love this Tracy at 12-8, man.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's
a
fun.
4-round difference between Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo.
Oh baby, give me all the Tracy. Give me all the Tracy. Smooth Criminal Entertainment. He says crying face emoji. So hey, shout out to you. All right, let's end the podcast with a little DeAndre Swift talk for our guy Ed out there.
Love you, Ed.
Feel like Monangai might be this year's Vidal in a general sense, but instead of injury-prone Dobbins, you have a possible rescinded Swift. He had another Swift question up here, and you've been asking a Swift question, but Swift value as of now, there's no perceived threat or competition in 2025. So how are we? I struggle with Swift as well. I think the idea and the grabbing of Swift, I think is really solid, man. I struggle when I'm in an area where I need some running backs. I like the Swift and Pollard grab that the 12 team made over here. If you need it, I think those are too good a swings as any. Obviously, if you've been listening to the show, we're big Travis Etienne proponents of how late he is, but those are probably 3 of my later round guys. If I'm in trouble and need to build my running back room out, those are 3 of the swings I really, really like taking as well as Tracy. So how are you guys playing Swift here for the last conversation of the night? I know we talked about it at one point, Chev, on a sell show possibly. So how you playing your Swift cards as of right now?
I gotta treat him like one of the olds. You can only make a 1-year bet. So with a build like this, yeah, you take that shot, then you take another shot, and you take another shot, and you're just hoping that I do think he's going to return value. I think he's going to be around 12 or 13 points a game, and that's what it's going to average out to. So he's going to have probably 3 or 4 RB1 weeks. I don't think that. But he's a lock for at least 270 touches as they're constructed right now. Like with the information that we have to go on, he's a lock for 270 touches this year. So if I can get him onto my team for a second in 26 and like maybe a third on a team that I know that I'm gonna have a late second round pick, I've constructed that roster that way, I would take a shot on that because it's almost certainly if he's going to play, he's going to return value based on where he's going right now.
Yeah, no, I don't see Roshan or Monangai drafted in this draft.
He's the best guy in the backfield. It's still DeAndre Swift, no matter how, even though he's not what we thought he was going to be coming out of college, but he's still really good. He's got a 1,000-yard season under his belt. He almost hit 1,000 yards last year in that dumpster fire of an offense. He still catches the ball really well. There's not enough here for me to try to fade him past this point right here.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm obviously, if I'm a rebuilder, I'm selling. If I'm a winning team, obviously there's probably some better chances you could take or better swings you could take from a lot of people's viewpoint. But he seems like cheap money right now, as we used to do a cheap money episode every year. But if you're an OG, he seems like a cheap money guy who you could, potentially have some league winning upside to, as far as DeAndre Swift. Now, will it be two guys in that backfield like we've seen, Ben Johnson on his last day? TBD. Doug, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally think it's going to be at least a two-headed monster, if not McNunn getting some love in there as well. I think he's going to want to see what he's got in the seventh rounder. And I know he's from Rutgers, but he's been very much compared to Isaiah Pacheco. So we'll see what comes of that. But I think Roschon's definitely going to get some work. I don't think that he's going to sit on the sidelines the whole time. But I think you also made a really good point, Chev, that this is the area where Swift is definitely gonna get you good value on your return. I think he's going to put up the numbers, and even if you don't plan on contending and he falls into this round and you take him in this draft, he's fine to sell, right? He's still going to have the value enough to sell, and you're still going to get something for him. And maybe you just let it kick in for 2 or 3 weeks before you hit the button to sell him. But I think at the end of the day, he's still going to have good value. I think this area is fine, but he is a 1-year play for me. I'm not trying to look at him as anything more past 2025. So,
yeah. All right. Well, appreciate y'all. We will not be live tomorrow, but we will be back Monday mocking. We mock it up so you don't have to fuck it up for your pleasure. We'll be back live, and me and Chev did the news and notes show last week. I don't know if there'll be enough news and notes next week, but soon enough, that'll probably be a mainstay show that we do live every week, doing some news and notes and talking about players, that are on the rise and having good camps, injuries, kind of all that stuff. So you guys seem to really enjoy it. We appreciate everybody coming out and hanging with us. If you want more, there's the FFD Discord or Patreon. If you can $5 holler over there, get you more content. We got plenty of content over on that side of things. We got mock drafts out the wazoo, both rookie, redraft, and dynasty. We'll be launching a redraft channel here soon, so we'll be doing live redraft mocks before you know it here within the next week or so. So we got lots of stuff, best ball content coming your way as well. We've been drafting, trying to figure that lane out a little bit. Just more stuff to go live, interact with y'all, show us how unserious this should be. It's fantasy football. We're just trying to come out here, have a good time, provide some conversation, provide some entertainment, provide some value, and tell you kind of our spin on things and our opinions. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. For Casey, Doug, Chev, we're out. Peace.